Hello there guys, RMP792 here. Right, Star Trek Discovery, episode 13. This episode was simultaneously great and awful. So, let's get the bad out of the way first. This episode basically ruins Lorca completely, because up until this point, Lorca has been a fascinating character because he's been incredibly morally grey, and you know that back in the episode where the Admiral came to psychologically analyze him, and and we had all that stuff. At the end, you genuinely weren't sure whether he'd deliberately sent her off to get captured, or whether he'd chosen not to go and try and save her because he was actually trying to live up to what she'd said, or whatever. And that made him a really interesting, morally great character. He was a Starfleet captain willing to do the unpleasant, dirty jobs that sometimes need doing in order to protect the Federation. And you can do a lot of interesting things with that. Again, DS9 has In the Pale Moonlight an entire episode focused around Sisko has done something very, very dodgy, but it's going to save a lot of lives, and can he live with that? And his ultimate decision is yes, because if saving the Federation cost a couple of lives and one captain's self-respect, that's a small price to pay. So Lorca has been a very, very interesting character throughout. Again, I don't really like him, but he's interesting. And those are two different things. There are plenty of fairly boring characters who I quite like, and that's generally been a good thing for the franchise. So Lorca being a very interesting, different kind of captain has worked up to this point. And then with the Mirror Universe reveal at the end of the last episode, where you find out that, oh my god, Lorca has actually been from the Mirror Universe all along, that could explain a few things, because with that reveal, you could then basically go with, okay, so this is why he's so morally grey. He came over from the Mirror Universe, and he saw the Federation and realised, we could be better. We could have a more fair, more equal society. So he's fighting for those ideals, but his old Mirror Universe training and his instincts from there, kick in from time to time, which is why he's a lot darker, a lot more of a complete dick. And maybe he actually met his counterpart from the Prime Universe and is trying to live up to, his reputation or his abilities, or his sacrifice or something like that. There's lots of really interesting places you could take this. And instead they went with he's just a villain. That's it. Lorca goes from one of the most interesting characters the show's ever done to a boring-ass villain in the space of this episode. And the thing is, Jason Isaacs is still acting the bejesus out of this part, and he's clearly having immense fun being the hammy, over-the-top villain. But it's a colossal waste of everything that's been built up with Lorca up to this point, because it can basically now fall under the category of, he was a lying bastard, who cares? It's taken all the depth and mystery out and replaced it with a twirly mustache. Now, he lacks a twirly mustache, but... So, that was easily the weakest part of this episode, was the fact that Lorca has just become a comedy villain, and it was a waste. It was a complete and utter waste. But the episode actually has a lot of good points, a lot of good stuff going for it. The other thing I found annoying was there is no Tyler Laurel stuff in this one. So we still don't really know what happened there. And so far as we have no idea whether or not whether she killed the Tyler personality, whether she killed the Vok personality, whether she just flat killed the body, or what. We don't know. So, no moving forward on that plot point, but oh well. So instead you've got, Lorca has now broken out, and he goes down to the cargo base to get all his people out who've been stuck there for about a year. They did offhandedly mention in the last episode that they basically had to stick a whole load of fresh agony booths into one of the cargo bays or something like that because they ran out of space for them. So yeah, it's fair enough that they're all there. And Lieutenant Commander Dumbass is back. Yay! She's not quite as much of a dumbass in this universe, I've got to say. But yeah, so then they have he goes off and finds Mirror Universe Stamets, and yeah, the last episode was just badly edited. Yeah, as I say, the thing I thought might have happened based on the way the last episode was edited was that Stamets had woken up in Mirror Stamets' body, and vice versa. But that's not evident in any way in this episode, and I think we can safely assume that didn't happen. It was just edited in a weird way. So yeah. So he basically finds Mirror Stamets, and he's like, his basic comment is, I need that bioweapon you've been working on. And there's no more explanation for that. It's just, you have a bioweapon, please deploy it. I'll be honest, it's the Terran Empire. They create bioweapons with breakfast. So, don't. A little more explanation might have been nice. Just even something as simple as a name for this particular bioweapon would have been fine. But yeah, so you then see a bunch of people sort of keeled over and with flesh slewing off and horrible agony and all that malarkey. And then you've got a admittedly pretty bitching firefight. Actually, no, sorry. Michael gets away first because none of the Royal Guards can aim worth toffee. Seriously, I appreciate this is Star Trek where guns are worthless, but yeah, none of those Royal Guards could aim worth a damn. So she manages to get away into a sort of convenient duct. Seriously, guys. Royal Chambers. One way in, 2 ways out. It's not hard. Big main door, secret side entrance. And the secret side entrance is only known about by the Monarch. This is not difficult. This is why you kill the architect. Duh. But yes, anyway. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's on the damn Evil Overlord list. But anyway. So yes, so they have this firefight, and it's actually a really cool firefight. Because they all sort of line up, along the corridor, and I'm just sitting there going, guys, cover is a thing you're allowed to use, right? And then Lorca and his guys turn up and they start shooting, and there's a force field in the way. They're like, oh, okay, that's cool, well done. So, force field in the way, and, then they sort of pummel their way through the force field with raw power, which is, you don't normally see them do that with force fields and hand weapons, but given that they could do it with starships, there's no reason why they can't. So they go through the subtle option and just pummel their way through, and then they use flash grenades, and it's generally a pretty cool action scene. I'll say this for this episode: the action scenes are actually pretty good. The hand-to-hand combat in the first episode was awful. Sorry, the second episode, the 2-hour pilot, was awful. Here it's actually pretty good. So I don't know if their stunt coordinator just got a hell of a lot better, or the actors got better, or what, but whatever happened, the action sequence of this episode was actually pretty cool. Or the action sequences, because there's a couple. So yeah, they shoot their way through, and there's a firefight, and Empress Giorgio's guys getting overwhelmed, so she uses a site-to-site transport to get away. And again, given everything that's established, this is sensible, combat tactics. I have no complaints. For once, I'm watching Star Trek, and people aren't doing dumbass things in combat. I mean, they still can't aim worth crap, but they're doing sensible things. So Lorca's like, haha, I now have control of the throne room. I am evil now. And, he's trying to get a hold of Burnham because he clearly had some weird fascination with, the Burnham from the Mirror Universe, and we have no idea what happened to her. The implication is that she's dead, but, goodness knows. And, so he's got some creepy stuff going on there where he clearly kind of wants her in some fashion or another that's got some very creepy sexual undertones that I'm not going to touch on because... But anyway. And yes, I appreciate this is the mirror universe where taking sexual advantage of your underlings is just, normal. Everybody does it. Let's. We all remember the mirror universe episode where they met, where apparently on set they were making a lot of ho she jokes. Yeah, but anyway, but yes, so he's taken over, and Burner manages to get a message to Discovery, and they're surprisingly willing to accept this is true. I mean, yeah, it makes sense given how evil Lorca has been, or morally dubious, but yeah. So yeah, they they basically decide, well, we need to come up with a plan to stop this, because turns out the giant spherical reactor ball thing is based on mycelial energy, and it's sort of sucking it dry, which is what's been corrupting the network. And it has some really unsubtle fossil fuel nods that are just like, why would they be so arrogant as to think they could come up with a solution for this? Well, they're about, and it basically about to do, well, they're a bunch of dickheads for using fossil fuels. I mean, the mycelial network. And I'll be honest, that was the most Star Trek thing in this episode. Star Trek does this crap. Sometimes it does it really well, sometimes it does it really badly, but that's what Star Trek does. It takes a moral message and smacks you over the head with it a couple of times. So yeah, that was the most Star Trek thing in the episode, and it was great. It was cheesy as hell, but it was great. But they basically decide, well, we need to stop this because this is going to somehow wipe out all life across all universes. Can't help but think using this drive might be a terrible idea. So, they basically end up, coming up with a plan that's basically going to involve firing some torpedoes into the big spherical ball thing. But of course, they're going to have to get really close to do that. It's going to have its shields down, and the explosion is going to kill them all, because they'll be way too close to it. And the reaction of the crew is perfect. Because the reaction of the crew is, all right, how do we do this? Nobody hesitates, because that's what Starfleet officers do. If it comes down to it, they will sacrifice themselves to save lives and to save the universe and the Federation and all that other stuff. And again, this would have a bit more impact if we actually knew the members of this crew and we actually got a sense that they were giving something up. But as I say, this continues to be... It continues to do stuff it hasn't earned, is my main problem with Discovery. As I said, that the mid-season finale felt like a really good finale to a season we hadn't, to a season we hadn't seen. That felt like it should have been the end of season 1, not the midpoint, and that there should have been 10 episodes of character development for the various characters in the middle. Especially the lesser characters. If we put them on a tier, we've got Michael, Lorca, Saru. Actually, to be fair, if we're putting them on the tier, Michael's at the top, then Lorca, Saru, Tilly, and Stamets are probably tier 2 characters. Then you've got... Actually, yeah, you probably should put Tyler on that one. Then you've got people like Culver and Laurel and a couple of the other minor recurring ones. And then you've got the tier 4 characters who are stuff like the bridge people who you don't... You see them around constantly, but you know nothing about them beyond the fact that they exist. So, again, it would be nice to get to know some of these tier 4 characters a lot more. So, yeah. Let's face it, I know a lot more about Harry Mudd based on the episodes he was in than I do about any of the tier 4 characters. So, yeah, so, they... I'll be honest, the fact that they come up with a plan and then that they technobabble away to make the plan better is pure Star Trek. And their technobabble basically, when she was talking about the explosion's going to release this massive wave of energy, and I'm like, oh god, is she going to talk about surfing it? They thankfully didn't use the surfing metaphor. But the writer was clearly thinking about it. It feels like he wrote it down and then was like, nah, I can't get away with that. And then, worked from there. But yeah. So they basically realise that if they time it just right, they can use that to get a boost to get them into the network and hopefully back home again. And since they've got Stamets back to navigate, hopefully he can help with that. So Michael's basically got to disable the shields. So she goes to the most obvious place that Giorgio could be, her dining room or whatever it was. Her private sanctuary, as Michael put it. Why Lorca didn't figure out she'd go there, I don't know. But and they come up with a plan, and they sort of bond over the fact that they both got badges. Empress Giorgio has the sort of the Terran rank badge or the pin or whatever it was that used to belong to her Michael, and of course Michael's still got the damaged badge that used to belong to her Giorgio, and they kind of bond over it, and it's an interesting scene let down by the fact that we know that this Giorgio is evil. She really is. I mean, let's face it, she bombed a planet to bits the first time we saw her. She killed a whole bunch of people just for hearing about the Federation. She's a bad guy. There's no moral greyness on this one. She's evil. She literally ate a sentient being in the last episode. So anyway, so they come up with the classic plan, which is the most obvious plan you can pull in this situation that only works on complete... Oh, I forgot to talk about Miras Death's death. Yeah, Miras Death dies because basically Lorca's bored of him. And he's going to throw him into the mycelial reactor, and then he's like, nah, poetry's boring, and they just shoot him in the back and disintegrate him. So there goes Miras Death. Much missed. But anyway... So yes, and back to where I was. So they bring in the Empress, and Michael basically says, you let me and my ship bugger off back to our universe, and we'll leave you be to rule this one. And his attitude is, well, I've already got your bargaining chip. The Empress is here. What else are you offering me? And she's like, fine, I'll stay, but I'm only offering you my mind. And again, yeah, the sexual undertones there are actually really kind of creepy, and I'm not sure what it is about it that is so creepy, but there's just something squicky about it. But they contact Saru, and then she basically gives him the "now is the time to do the thing" speech, and he basically does the "I understand," and then they do the thing. They get a distraction, and Michael and the Empress fight. And again, it's a really good action scene. There's lots of cool bits in it. Where there's fighting and the stabbing and the shooting and all sorts of good stuff. It's a cool scene. There was at least one time where I'm pretty sure Lorca shot one of his own guys for some reason. I think that's because that person was attacking Michael, but that. Again, stun settings do exist, even in the mirror universe. They do appreciate the value of taking prisoners sometimes. But so goodness knows. But yeah, it's a pretty cool sequence as these things go. And it eventually ends with Michael having the chance to shoot Lorca, and she's like, no, I'm from the Federation. We're better than this. We're better than you. I'm not going to kill you. And Giorgio's like, ha! Well, if you won't, I will. And stabs him in the back, with a honking big sword, and I'm just thinking, yeah, that'll get the job done. And then, of course, he tumbles out the weird hatchway and falls into the sort of mycelial reactor and apparently disintegrates. I say apparently because it genuinely would not shock me if he turns up in the future having fallen directly into the mycelial network or something like that. But yeah, apparently he disintegrates with a noise that sounded suspiciously like a TIE fighter. I'm not even the only person to notice that. There's quite a few commenters on the internet going, was that a TIE fighter noise? That was weird. But yes, so Lorca is apparently dead, and the whole thing feels like a complete waste. As I say, you built up one of the most morally complex and interesting characters, and then you bollocked it up. So, the rest of the troops are going to come in and kill Giorgio, and her attitude is, well, I'm an empress who's been toppled. Even if I regain power, people know I'm weak now. I'm not going to last long. So she's basically decided she's going to die in a blaze of glory and go out, fighting and all that. As she says, if you're going to die, there are worse ways to go. So she does this final heroic last stand and pew 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 and all, and fighting off loads of guys who, again, cover is a thing, guys. Use it. But Michael basically decides she can't let another version of Giorgio dies, and when she's being beamed out, she grabs onto her. And yet they somehow end up on separate pads on board the Discovery. That's not how that works, guys. If you are that physically close to each other when you are beamed out, you materialize on the same pad. You basically materialize in the exact same state you were when you dematerialized. So in this case, she basically should have been bear hugging her. That was a really weird continuity thing to screw up, just in terms of moment to moment. But oh well. I mean, it's sort of like in episodes of Stargate where they beam people straight out of F-302s onto the bridge of the ships, and they've gone from sitting down in a cockpit and they're suddenly standing up after they beam out. And I'm like, and every time I see that, I'm just thinking, nope. What they should have done there was basically actually film them beaming in, sort of sat down and sort of slumping backwards, in a slightly undignified way, and just be like, sorry. That would have actually, it would have made more sense. And I appreciate from a storytelling point of view, it's completely irrelevant, but it's the kind of thing that annoys me. So they deprive Mira Giorgio of her, badass death, and she does not look happy about that fact, because the hells are you going to do with her? Because again, she's evil. She's committed unbelievable crimes. She's done enough stuff. She has done enough stuff to make every mass murderer in human history pale in comparison by being Empress of the Terran Empire. Yeah. Basically what you just did was you took Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Genghis Khan, God knows who else, mixed them all in a blender, and then decided, I'm going to save that person's life. This is going to backfire on you horribly, Michael. That was a bad idea. But they fly in, and there's a cool sequence where they fire the photon torpedoes at the thing, and then they fly straight through it. Not sure how that worked. That feels like a disconnect between the effects guys and the writers, because, don't get me wrong, it looks gorgeous, but it looks really dumb, given that thing's meant to be some sort of reactor thingy. Or even if they'd activated the drive right as they went into it, or something like that might have worked. But no. So, they're sort of outrunning the blast wave, but I think that's meant to be warp, but that doesn't make sense given what they said they were going to do. But anyway. So yes, and then they fly into the mycelial network, and Stamets is doing that. This is really hard work navigating. I don't know where I'm going. I'm getting lost. And then he starts hearing the opera that Culver liked, and that is still bollocks. I'm sorry, it really is. You establish this, the first proper gay romance in Star Trek. Because Star Trek has always been janky on this issue. It's a problem. We know it's been a problem for a long time. We've been saying it's a problem for a long time. But, you finally did it. And then you killed one of them in a pointless, shocking way. So, they eventually get back to their own universe. And, they're like, ha, we have got back to our own universe. Everything will be fine now. Yeah, one slight problem. We appear to have arrived 9 months late. Okay. Wasn't aware you could do that, but fair enough. When they said, we've arrived a bit late, I was expecting them to have jumped forward far, far further. Because, that's been one of the theories that's been bandied around for a long time, that they're actually going to jump much further forward. which wouldn't have made any sense in a storytelling point of view. But yeah, that was one of the theories. And to be honest, that doesn't make sense from a storytelling point of view. Has been kind of the watchwords of this show. So, but yes, and they basically turn out that they've jumped forward about 9 months, and the Federation's lost the war. Dun dun dun. So they're obviously going to have to find somewhere to travel back in time and unbollock this up. So yeah, and that's the cliffhanger. So yeah, overall the Mirror Universe storyline was... Again, this show has had some really interesting ideas, but it keeps wasting them in the exact same way that Voyager did. You come up with this really interesting character, this really morally grey person, and then, oh no, turns out he was a villain all along and he was just lying to everybody. You decide to explore the Mirror Universe, but nope, just, yeah, it's a thing. Everybody's still evil and everybody's still stupid. So yeah, it would... The problem with this episode is it's got a lot of good stuff going for it. The action scenes are great. The acting is fabulous. The design work continues to be really, really cool on this show, and the special effects are great. The problem is it's scripted by somebody who... It's like they got bored trying to write an interesting, deep, morally complex character, and just decided, well, he's a villain now. So yeah, I maintain you could have done something really fascinating with Mirror Universe Lorca. You could have had him be really trying to straddle the line between the two universes, but you didn't. So yeah, goodness knows where they go from here. There's a 50-50 shot that original Universe Lorca is going to turn up in some form or other. There's going to be some sort of time travel-y thing to undo this, because there has to be. The Federation can't be destroyed if this is only a few years before Kirk, because Federation weren't destroyed when Kirk was captain. And yeah, just 2 episodes left of the season, and then we are getting a season 2. Hopefully they can take on board what we've been saying, namely, please make this show actually like Star Trek. And yeah, that's kind of all I've got. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at episode 14.